Alright, welcome back for another video, guys. It's been a little bit, but we've been a little busy. So, just over winter, gets slow a little bit, but everything's picking back up. We did recently have a tornado hit around, so we got everything replaced on house and garage. So that's one thing that was keeping us busy in the meantime, getting all that fixed. But we have been looking for a new shop building to expand our whole space here. So this is currently 1,200 square feet, so decent size. But when you start getting all these customer cars in here, so we have this S13, it's getting an engine build, and outside we do have a Miata getting a new turbo setup, link ECU and all that good stuff. So yeah, just been doing that. We had our mainline dyno come in, so that's currently in storage until we sort out the building. And then we've just been driving this for first event of the year. Had some clutch issues, so we did just put a McLeod twin disc clutch in that, new tilt and slave. But now we are getting back over to our S13 with our 8 HP swap. So look here, this is the 8 HP 45 again. If you guys did not watch the last video or just forgot. Drift HQ, we got our Domiworks kit from there. So garage is a little messy at the moment, but that took a little bit to get in. And that's kind of why this got shot to the back burner. We just didn't have the space or time because we do need to still drive a car for the events. So we had the chaser out and we're going to get started on this today. So we need to take all of our other parts back out of here, figure out what we need. Got to solder in our control board. So we have to pop the pan off of this trans, and we just got our new one in today from FCP Euro and some fluid. And we're basically going to try to get this ready to put in the car. So I do believe I forgot to get the flywheel bolts initially for this setup. So those are already on the way. So hope that this is all done and we can start putting in everything else and get this ready to put on. And after that, we get it mocked up. We can get our drive shaft measured and ordered and just button up everything else with the car. So still need our radiator and intercooler set up. The radiator is still on back order from Chase Base, so we may cancel that and just fabricate something. And then same with our intercooler pipes, we're just going to make something new. We're going to redo some fuel line stuff. We have a direct mount fuel pressure regulator going on, and just a bunch of small miscellaneous things here and there that is going to make this drive really well without any issues. So we'll get over to taking off the pan of this trans and show you guys how to solder in the board. Popped off this rear mount here. This is all going to be T55 bolts, at least on this one. It should be the same across most of them. And then here, your pan bolts. These are going to be a T40, so you just pretty much zip them out. Pretty simple. And we'll just fast forward to knocking this thing off. So if you guys want a pro tip, don't believe the guy that sold you the trans drained it all, because made a little mess over here. But these pans, they do have the O-ring and the filter all built in, so it's good to check that as well, which this one actually looks pretty decent. But to replace the filter, you typically replace the whole pan, and you want to use a genuine ZF unit. There are pans out there that you can just replace the filter out of them, like the aftermarket billet ones. But as far as a stock budget one, for like 130 bucks online, a genuine ZF with the filter isn't a bad price. So now we do have to take apart our mechatronic unit and get this to where we can solder in the new board. Alright, once you're at this point, we're going to remove our mechatronics. So as you can see, it's kind of hard to tell. There's a lot of these kind of convex bolts here, but it's these larger ones with the shoulder ridge that are going to be coming out. So like this one, this one, this one, this one, and so on. And that's what's going to remove this whole unit. You don't have to remove every single one of these bolts. And then depending on your style of transmission, you may have an accumulator here that needs to come out. And I don't think we have to take these out yet. But I'm going to get out these larger ones, see if everything comes loose, and then the TCU is going to be on the other side, and we can remove whatever bolts needed from there to get that off. Alright, so I believe I got them all loose. I forgot like this one right here, and I did take out these ones on the side. So, let's see if we're gonna come loose. Which it definitely feels like it's hung up somewhere. I don't know if it just comes right out. Okay, when you get all the bolts out, there's going to be this little metal tab that pulls out. You have to remove your electrical connector, like a flathead, and then that's going to allow you to pull out your whole valve body or mechatronics unit. So this is plastic. You want to be careful with it. I'm going to do this off camera so I have two hands, and then we will get to pulling this off. All right, now that we have our mechatronics removed, we need to remove our TCU. So that's going to be in this black box. You're just going to have to line up what screws are going through this from the opposite side, and that'll let all this release out of here. And then we can start to take this guy apart and solder in our new board. All right, so now that we got all of our lower bolts out, we're going to flip this guy back over. And there's going to be 3 dowels, 1, 2, and 3. And you're just going to want to gently pry to loosen these guys out, just enough to where they start moving. And then this all should just start lifting up off of the unit. Allegedly. There we go. And there is another connector that comes in down here, if you guys can see it on camera. If not, you can also unplug it on this side, whichever floats your boat. So you'll get this out, and here is your TCU. So this is what we're going to be opening up and modifying to work with the Turbolamic. All right, so we got our bench set up. So we do need to remove the black shell here, and to do that, you have a black rivet here, and then these 2 brown ones down here that you can't really see. I gotta pop off this cover, and then the rest is just clips that you can pop off, and that is going to give us access to our TCU. So I'm going to go ahead and Dremel those off real quick, and then hopefully pop this apart. So the case is now taken apart. We just kind of wiped off the lid, but we are going to be cutting around the perimeter of this edge. You want to make sure not to go too deep because there are contacts relatively close, probably 1/16 of an inch in all the way around, except for on this end. So it's mainly concerned on here. So we're going to Dremel this open and then show you how to remove the factory wires of the TCU and put in our new board. So we got off the cover. I didn't have like a cutting disc, so I ended up using this little like triangle carbide looking thing, and I just kind of kept grinding through the edges to make it thinner, and then kind of just sliced it with the screwdriver and like pulled it up with some pliers in the spots where it just needed a little more force to rip it. So now you can kind of deburr the edges here with the same thing, and you're just going to cut all these little wires with the razor blade, and then we're going to install our new board and solder it together to all these little pads here. Once you clean up all your pads, try to make sure you get them the best you can. So what I did is once I razored them off, I kind of went over the top with the flathead and pushed the wire right off the top to clean it up. And you're going to want to make sure that let all this is seated really well. It's going to be flat all the way across. When I first started putting it in, one of the sides was starting to be raised. So you just got to make sure it goes down flat and that there's no other wires or anything sticking out that's going to impede this from sitting, because the tolerance is extremely tight. So I'm going to boot up the soldering station, and you basically just have to go in, solder one by one to everything that has a label. So these ones that aren't labeled, you don't have to, but you can if you want a little bit of extra strength. But as far as the traces go, there is nothing on the traces, so it won't matter. Here is your completed soldering. So everything came up pretty good. These lower ones, a little of them were goofy, just because the flux was wanting to make it stick to the iron and not the pads. But other than that, everything's good. We continuity checked between the case of this and every pin that we soldered, and everything is good. Just going to double check if there's a test procedure online for any specific pins to cross. Other than that, we then take our mechatronics cover from Turbolamic. And you do want to put RTV on here, but all it does, pops on there, pretty simple, and you glue it all together. And then you're going to put your casing back together and basically just reassemble all of this the same way it came out. So I'm going to go pick up some RTV in the meantime, and then we can get this started to glue, and by the time it's cured and everything goes back together, we could probably have this trans in and put fluid in it. Now we have our mechatronics cover. We put some silicone on the outside, so you can orientate it whatever you want, it doesn't matter, but there is like a long way to it, and you just put it on like so, and she's sealed up. So give that a little bit to dry. If you want to use more, you can. You can fill up the whole thing. It's not gonna affect anything, but just make sure it does seal well. So you can see I'm moving this, and a little hard to pick up, so that means it's probably sealed pretty good. You can add more, add less. Usually err on the side of more. That way you know that the coverage is good. So you can see how it touched the edges of all that. So pop that on there, and we're gonna let it dry. And we will probably pick back up tomorrow to put this all back together, because we don't want to rush this and have it not seal, because you don't want the oil in there. We got this back together off camera, so all your main bolts, the bigger ones that we initially took off to take out the unit, those are going to be just 10 foot-pounds. And the only other small issue I had was when you do put your plug thing back in, you need to keep constant pressure on this to be able to slide your locking tab back down. And yeah, this little rod here has to be in this notch as well. This is like your parking release. But other than that, everything's going to be an inch-pound. The smaller ones to the TCU unit are slightly less torque, but those ones that aren't as detrimental as keeping the main torque on the body itself, because this isn't going to come out. So now I'm going to unbox our new pan, which is in here, and get this on this. We have some fluid in there, and hopefully we can start putting this on. So this is going to be your new pan. So looks the same as the other one. If we flip it around this way, obviously the filter is a different color, but it did come with new hardware kit. It looks like this is your fill bolt as well as the drain is here. So just use all your new bolts. This is going to be the larger of the T-socket that we used at the beginning of the video. Now that your pan is on, we are going to remove our output flange here, and this is from Domiworks as well. Got your little box here. This is going to convert it to a 1350 U-joint, so it's more common and readily available. There's also a tone ring on it. But yeah, I don't have the socket for this guy. It's like a 30 or 32 millimeter 12 point. So I got to go source this, jump back over here, and get this off. All right, day number 3, we are back. We got our sockets in from Amazon. So this is going to be the 34 millimeter here. You can see it is a 12 point, and that's going to fit into here. So we do need to bang out these little stakes on each side before we can turn this, or it's just not going to turn. So you get a little flathead and a hammer, and we'll pop this off. So it's pretty hard to even get these stakes out. So I hit it with a Ugga with the big Milwaukee. Came right up. So this should just slide out. Take your new one, like so, and this goes on that easy. You're going to take your new nut that came with the kit, drop it on there, and I'm going to get this started by hand. It's hard to do with the one hand since this is deeper, but I'll get this on, tighten up, and we will restake it into the grooves here. So we got our new parts back in. I just went ahead and put the new stuff on. So what we have here is our oil cooler adapter. We had slightly too small one, so we'll save that for the chaser. And then our back flex mount. So I just went ahead and put all these in, use some blue Loctite because the car is going to vibrate a lot. You want to make sure that these do not come out. Yeah, and then we got our little adapter plate kit here. So we're going to get under the car, start putting this on, and see if this still fits with the stock like dust shield that goes on the back of the engine. And yeah, kind of got our core support mocked up. Had to order a different radiator because the Chase Bays one I had ordered in Black Friday area. It's still on back order, so they had an issue with their manufacturer, and we're just going to make something else work for now and try to tuck it in here. So here's what you're going to get in the SR20 Domiworks kit. So you're going to have your torque converter adapter, your flex plate / flywheel, and your adapter plate, and all the hardware. So this probably going to go here and sandwich over that, and this will give the hub of the torque converter somewhere to sit. This should be for the adapter plate. Probably these small ones, or no, these ones are for the torque converter adapter. And yeah, I mean, there's not really instructions with this, unfortunately. I can check their website to see if it's updated, as this kit just did release probably 6 months ago or so, maybe a little more. But yeah, I'll check the website. I have my flex plate, or the dust shield, right here. So I do want to see if that'll fit behind this, or if this kind of acts as that as well, because the shape does look somewhat similar. So we did put the little dust shield behind it. It will fill this small gap. But this is how this is going to go. It does appear you're going to use this bag of the shorter socket cap bolts to put the adapter plate to the engine. And then we're going to get on our flywheel from there and just kind of work our way outwards. Now that you have your adapter plate on, we're going to put on the flex plate and then this little, you can call it like a guide plate, I guess. There's two sides of it. This side's smaller, this side's larger. This is going to be the torque converter side, and this will slip into the crankshaft. So you just kind of put that on there, line up your holes, and now we're going to put our ARP hardware in. I'm going to blue Loctite everything. Anything spinning, you want to make sure that you have some Loctite on, because you don't want this to come loose and blow apart. So we just finished torquing this up. There's no instructions, but the flywheel does go on first, and then the hub. The depth of the holes is actually slightly shorter than the length of these bolts, so you do need to add washers, which aren't typically there. And then I just have a screwdriver here to lock this flywheel in place to torque it up, and that is going to be 56 Newton meters. And I believe then there's another adapter side that's going to bolt to the converter on itself. And then we're going to probably come in from this little gap on the back side. There's a little access hole. And I believe the bolts to bolt it to the torque converter should come from this side, but I guess we'll see when we start putting everything back together. But I'm going to take a quick break and then come back out here. All right, we are back from our break. I'm back under the car, and we are taking this back off. So we did get the instructions back from Domiworks. Just a little email. They said this is on backwards because they want this writing for the converter, but we also need this to center the other adapter over here to the torque converter. So we have to actually bolt that together first before we can use this and put this back on the engine. So I'm going to zip this off, and we'll get out from under the car and put that on there first. So we got our new converter adapter, so I guess we had a different transmission and converter. They said that we needed this extra adapter plate here, but as you can see, there's this little ridge on the top, and this is flat. And also there is a hub, which I think I have it on the crank right now, but it's supposed to support the converter here, and there's not a chance any of this would all fit together. So we're waiting on a reply back to see what they have to say about that. I shouldn't have to machine this down because that'd be kind of ridiculous, but maybe that's the only way this is going to fit. So we'll see what they say. But we did get finally a radiator in for this. Just kind of got one off Summit. I'm going to try to fit it under here, and I kind of just have to notch that lower support brace I have in there for the water neck. But this should come out pretty decent. Might add a swirl pot right here and just kind of weld this cap shut here. That way we don't have to worry about height difference with this getting on there. But this will sit a little lower once we get everything sitting in there, because it's kind of resting there right now. So I'm going to jump over to this, start notching that, and see where this all wants to sit. So it's been a couple days. We did actually get the adapter that they had recommended for the converter, but after installing, you see there's this little ridge here, and that's going to prevent the actual adapter plate from going on here that will allow it to bolt to the flywheel. So I talked to the guys at Domiworks. They're going to custom machine me one that is going to work with the complete swap rather than generically working with the converter. So in the meantime, I kind of just notched the little lower radiator spot for this. Not sure if I showed this in a previous clip, but we are going to get the chaser ready for special stage instead. So I did put a McLeod twin disc clutch in this. I did have an issue where the clutch was sticking to the floor. And actually, if we come under here, I can show you that the adjustment was a little wrong. You can see there's an internal sleeve here with a threaded mount. So I had to get that little anti-rotation pin out of there. And then that allowed me to spin it to change the clearance. And now we're back at the 200 thousandths that it is recommending. And I just have to wait till Brian gets here. We're going to bleed it, put a new map sensor in his car, because I believe the one in his car is bad. And then we're going to be able to tune that, have that car ready for a special stage and the event next weekend. We'll also be driving that in this car. And we are going to wrap this car as well in red to match the whole team. We have new wheels coming and everything, so this is going to be the main priority right now. All right, so yesterday, me and Brian bled the clutch and got about 5 feet out of the garage, and it didn't want to work. You can go in and out of all the gears with the clutch out, and the slave was actually overextended and kind of crooked, so it wouldn't retract. So I got this today, this little clutch pedal stopper, and it's not really in the best spot, but it does hit the firewall, so I'm hoping that works now. I adjusted the clutch pedal some. And now I'm just going to take it off jack stands, and we're going to go test drive this to make sure it all works. So we have a failure again, so this is just kind of overextending, and you can see it there. And it's just kind of locking it with the clutch exposed. So if we take our screwdriver here, it's kind of hard to do. Let me switch hands, see if I can record this for you guys. Look at that. And then it all slides back in. So that spec, this little gap here, is actually tighter than what it wants. It wants 200 thousandths, and this is probably like a 190. So it shouldn't be overextended with the current adjustment. So that's what's weird. So might have to mess with all the stopper again, get a longer bolt. But yeah, that's the current state of this. So the car is all fixed. We had Al come over here. He helped us get this back together before we just tuned this thing. This is on 18 pounds of boost on ethanol. But yeah, we had to change the seal inside the slave cylinder, which got down here somewhere. This little orange guy, and there's a black one around here somewhere too. But yeah, it was just like to drive a seal is what my guess was. So place that. It is now working as it's supposed to. The clutch is no longer sticking. Had to adjust the stop again, and it all worked. So back to driving this. We will be driving it on Saturday, which is in 2 days. We have a private drift event at the Autobahn. So hopefully that ends up pretty well. Get some footage there. And here's Al about to take off, go home. So this is probably where we're going to leave off on this video here. Still waiting on new parts for the 8 HP and the torque converter here. So yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully we'll start getting all these cars together and ready for these events.